So, imagine you're standing on the edge of an ancient desert, the sun blazing overhead, and suddenly, a team of archaeologists stumbles upon something that could rewrite history. This isn't just any old dig site. It's the discovery of a lost temple dedicated to Zeus, the mighty Greek god of sky and thunder. Now, hold on. Zeus is Greek, but we're in Egypt. That's like finding a pizza place in the middle of a sushi bar. It's confusing, right? But that's exactly what makes this find so exciting. This temple wasn't just any old building. It was a sacred space where people once gathered to pray and offer sacrifices to Zeus. The fact that it's been lost for centuries adds an air of mystery, like finding a treasure map in a dusty attic. Archaeologists are now piecing together the story of this ancient site, trying to figure out how it ended up in Egypt and what role it played in the region's history. What makes this discovery even more thrilling is that it bridges two major civilizations, Greek and Egyptian. You've got the grandeur of Greek architecture mixed with the rich traditions of ancient Egypt. It's like a cultural mashup, and archaeologists are excited to uncover how these two worlds might have interacted. Did the Greeks influence local religious practices? Or did the Egyptians adopt aspects of Zeus worship? The answers could change our understanding of ancient history. The excitement surrounding this find isn't just about the temple itself. It's about what it tells us about human curiosity and exploration. For centuries, people have been searching for lost civilizations, hoping to uncover secrets buried beneath the sands. This discovery is a reminder that history is full of surprises, and sometimes, all it takes is a little digging to reveal something extraordinary. So, as we dive deeper into this story, get ready to be amazed by the stories hidden in stone, the clues left behind by ancient hands, and the incredible journey these archaeologists are on. This isn't just about finding a temple. It's about connecting with the past in ways that feel almost magical. All right, let's talk about Zeus. You know, the Greek god of sky and thunder, right? Well, he didn't just hang out in Greece all the time. In fact, during a period called the Hellenistic era, which basically means when Greeks and Egyptians started hanging out more, Zeus made his way to Egypt. But here's the twist, he wasn't alone. He got mixed up with a local god named Ammonius-Ra, and that's where things get interesting. So, what was going on with this syncretism? Well, syncretism is when two different gods from different cultures are kind of merged into one. Think of it like if you had a superhero who was both Batman and Superman, except in ancient times. Zeus and Ammonius-Ra were combined to create a new god called Ammonius Zeus or Zeus Ammonius. It's like the ultimate fusion, where the Egyptian god got some Greek flair and the Greek god got some Egyptian mysticism. This blending wasn't just about making gods look cooler, it had real cultural significance. The Greeks wanted to spread their religion and culture across the Mediterranean, and Egypt was a big deal back then. By merging Zeus with Ammonius-Ra, they were basically saying, hey, we respect your traditions, but let's also bring our stuff into the mix. It was like a cultural handshake that helped both sides feel more connected. Now, you might be thinking, why would the Egyptians go along with this? Well, during the Hellenistic period, Egypt was ruled by Greek kings, like Ptolemy. These rulers wanted to maintain their power and legitimacy, so they adopted Egyptian religious practices as a way to show respect for local traditions. It was a strategic move that helped them stay in control while also keeping the people happy. So, when you see references to Zeus in Egypt, it's not just about a Greek god being imported, it's about a cultural exchange that shaped both religions. The temples and statues of Ammonius Zeus were grand places where people could worship both gods, blending their stories, symbols, and even rituals into one cohesive belief system. It was like the ancient version of a multicultural festival, but with more divine drama. All right, let's talk about what these archaeologists actually found in this ancient Egyptian temple of Zeus. First off, they uncovered some massive columns that were absolutely stunning, like giant pillars made of stone, standing tall and proud like the backbone of a forgotten empire. These columns weren't just for show. They were probably part of a grand entrance or maybe even the main hall of the temple, which would have been packed with worshippers and priests back in the day. But wait, there's more. Alongside these impressive columns, they found some ancient inscriptions carved into the stone. These weren't just random scratches. They were carefully written texts that probably told stories about Zeus, his myths, or even instructions for how to worship him properly. Imagine being able to read prayers and dedications from thousands of years ago, like getting a front row seat to ancient religious ceremonies without ever leaving your couch. Oh, and don't forget the religious relics. These were some seriously cool finds. Things like small statues of Zeus, ceremonial tools, and even offerings that people might have left at the temple. One of the most interesting items was a golden statue of Zeus himself, which would have been a centerpiece of worship. It's like finding a tiny piece of heaven in the middle of an Egyptian desert. But here's where it gets really fascinating. These artifacts and structures don't just tell us what the temple looked like. They also give us clues about how people lived and worshipped back then. For example, the way the columns were arranged might have indicated the size of the temple or even its layout. And those inscriptions? They could help us understand the language and culture of the time, which is super valuable for historians. So, putting it all together, this site isn't just a collection of old rocks. It's a treasure trove of history that helps us piece together the past. From the grand columns to the sacred relics, every find adds another layer to our understanding of ancient Egypt and its connection to Zeus. It's like solving a giant mystery with each new discovery, and honestly, it's pretty cool to be part of that journey. Alright, let's talk about how Greek culture and religion really started to take over Egypt during the Ptolemaic period. You know, when Alexander the Great marched into Egypt and basically said, "Hey, this place is cool, I want to rule it." But here's the kicker. He didn't just bring his army. He brought his entire Greek culture with him. So imagine a land where pharaohs were once worshipped as gods, now suddenly having temples dedicated to Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. That's not just a cultural shift, it's like a full-blown identity swap. The Ptolemaic rulers, who were actually descendants of Alexander, really leaned into Greek traditions. They built cities like Alexandria, which became a melting pot of Greek and Egyptian culture. But it wasn't just about architecture or language. They also started to blend their religious practices. Temples dedicated to Zeus? That's pretty wild because Zeus was the Greek equivalent of Ammon-Ra, the main god of Egypt. So instead of building a new temple for a completely different deity, they just gave Zeus a fancy Egyptian-style makeover and called it a day. This blending wasn't just superficial. It had real consequences for how people worshipped and saw their gods. Greek philosophers like Aristotle were brought in to teach at the famous Library of Alexandria, which was more than just a library. It was a hub of intellectual exchange. Meanwhile, Egyptian priests adapted their rituals to include Greek elements, creating a unique syncretic religion that mixed both cultures. It's like if you took your favorite pizza toppings and added them to someone else's recipe. Unexpected but delicious. But here's the thing. This Hellenistic influence wasn't just about copying Greek culture. It was also about power. The Ptolemaic rulers used their Greek heritage to legitimize their rule over Egypt, which had a long history of being ruled by native pharaohs. By promoting Greek gods and customs, they were essentially saying, "We're the new kings of this land, and we bring with us the best of both worlds." It was a clever way to maintain control while also appealing to the Greeks who lived in Egypt. So when you see a temple dedicated to Zeus in Egypt, it's not just a random construction. It's a symbol of how deeply Greek culture had woven itself into Egyptian society. These temples weren't just places of worship. They were cultural landmarks that reflected the complex relationship between two ancient civilizations. And honestly, if you think about it, it's kind of like having a modern-day fusion restaurant where the menu is a mix of Greek and Egyptian dishes. Unexpected, but totally worth trying. So, you're probably thinking, Zeus? In Egypt? That's like finding a pizza delivery in the Sahara Desert. Well, let me break it down. The discovery of this lost temple isn't just about finding an old building. It's like uncovering a time capsule that tells us how ancient religions mixed and evolved. Imagine if you had a recipe book from 300 BCE that showed how Greek and Egyptian cooking styles blended. This temple is like that, but for spirituality. This temple could change the way we think about religious practices in the ancient world. Zeus was a big deal in Greece, right? But here he's being worshipped in Egypt, which suggests that there was more cultural exchange than we previously thought. It's like finding out your favorite band actually toured with a group from another country you never knew existed. Unexpected, but totally cool. Now, let's talk about Hellenistic beliefs. The Hellenistic period was all about Greek culture spreading across the Mediterranean and into places like Egypt after Alexander the Great. This temple might be proof that Zeus wasn't just a Greek god. He became part of the Egyptian pantheon too. Think of it as ancient tourism. Greeks went to Egypt, brought their gods with them, and maybe even got a little bit of Egyptian magic in return. But here's where things get really interesting. This temple could show how different cultures influenced each other without completely replacing one another. It's like when you mix your favorite smoothie with someone else's recipe. Both flavors are still there, but the result is something new and exciting. This discovery might help us understand how religious beliefs traveled and adapted across borders. And let's not forget about the cultural exchange angle. If Greeks were worshipping Zeus in Egypt, that means they were interacting with local traditions. Maybe they built temples, held festivals, or even adopted some Egyptian rituals into their own practices. It's like when you visit a new country and end up trying out their food. Sometimes it becomes your favorite, even if it's not from your home kitchen.